Hello, nerdy neighbors. Welcome back to the Nerdy Neighborhood. Welcome to your friendly neighborhood comic shows YouTube channel. I am back with another indie creator interview, cooking with creatives. I am especially excited about this one for you all. I'm super excited to have Brent Fisher, who is one of the co-creators of the publishing press called Extra Pages Press. They have a new Kickstarter going on right now called Sharp Wit and the Company of Women. And I'm super duper excited for this next book, this next anthology for their label, their company. I'm super excited, and it's gay as hell. It's women, it's swords, it's gay, and Brent is super lovely. This was just such a fun time to just sit and chat with them and have a great time. So I hope you'll enjoy this, and let me know if you want the outtakes, because we ended up going on a lot of ranting at the end of the interview that I did cut out a lot of. But if you want to hear us, with our fan rants later, let me know if you want the outtakes, and I'll gladly include them. But without further ado, please enjoy this Cooking with Creatives indie comic creator interview with Brent Fisher of Sharp Wit and the Company of Women. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the neighborhood, and welcome back to your friendly comic book show. I'm your host, Lauren, your friendly neighborhood bye. And here with me today, I have a special guest. If you don't know this person, you definitely should. This is Brent Fisher, the co-creator and co-director of Extra Pages Press. Thanks for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I hope I said all that right. I feel like I did a little tongue twister as I was going. So
nope, that is completely accurate. And the other co-creators, it's the word "co" is operative word, couldn't join us because of a harried and frantic networking expedition for our endeavor at New York Comic Con. Is Michelle Abinator.
Yeah.
But hopefully I do us both justice while trying to encapsulate our project and our Kickstarter and who we are and what we do. But do you want me to kind of just go into it, or would you like to kind of just have some pointed leading questions?
Yeah, no, I'd love to hear about it. Tell me more, because one of the coolest things is the title from the start, like gets my attention. And I even love how you did this intentional stylizing in the title, because in saying, instead of doing Sharp Wit and the word "and" the Company of Women, you do that nice, like, what is that symbol called? I can't remember what that's called.
I call it an ampersand. I think
yeah,
I have it right.
Yeah, okay. I think that's right. Yeah, so you do. So that stylistic choice, I don't know who chose that in terms of the title and stuff, but genius, those little things.
You'll have to go to the Kickstarter for the credits, because I always conflate. We had two people on retainer for logos, one for Extra Pages Press and one for this project. And you're gonna have to forgive me. You'll have to go there to see the proper crediting for the logo. But that was completely the logo designer, who's also part of the community, by the way, which is also part of Extra Pages Press's mandate, that everybody that we try to work with almost holistically, if not unilaterally, needs to identify as part of the LGBT community, LGBTQIA plus community.
Yeah, and I love that you all do that. I'm going to pull up the Kickstarter so we can scroll through it as we talk here. I'm a visual person. But yeah, that's one of the cool things, because I know I haven't had as much of a focus on this channel yet as I'd like on, LGBTQIA plus work and things like that. So I'm very excited to have you here. And Extra Pages Press, y'all have done so much great work already in the past. You guys just finished another great Kickstarter. I got my copy of it. It's absolutely gorgeous. And I'm just excited to add this to my shelf, because even I'm getting more pickier with what physical Kickstarters I back, because I'm running low on space. But every time I say Extra Pages Press and it's another book, I say it's a physical copy. It's coming to my house.
Well, Michelle and I we're kind of cut our teeth at a time where I believe, and rightly so, by the way, this is not a judgment, that a lot of Kickstarters were reducing the page size, the physical page size of their books, to reduce production value costs. And we kind of wanted to go in the opposite direction. We wanted this to be, at the very minimum, a U.S. comic standard size booklet. These anthologies, but extrapagespress.com. It's Michelle and I. It's made to look like a label, and I guess it sort of is now that we're out there doing things. But it's actually just this veneer of our shared goal to raise and elevate LGBTQIA plus creators, writers, letterers, colorists, artists, illustrators, storytellers, and we just feel that right now, and maybe just in popular media in general, because it's endemic of our culture, that I think there's a tolerance limit both in terms of pragmatic use as well as maybe subliminal, of how much queerness can be sustained by the modern industry of consummation. So like, you know, it's like, oh, that's enough queer stories for today. You know, well, the rest, well, you know, no more artists. Well, let's cut this one off, or no more stories along those lines. And we just wanted to kind of build our own table and make our own seats at it, to kind of give these creators a platform to not only flex their muscle, as because it's not just about who they are and how they identify as. It's about giving them the opportunity to explore their identities through the medium of storytelling and to just inherently practice storytelling itself. And Color of Always, like you just said, was our first endeavor, successfully funded, almost hit $40,000 in dollars in support. Just got picked up by Wave Blue World. Marketing begins in January. It'll be in comic shops in June for Pride. The same cover, but just tweaked a little bit by the same artist, Elisa Rimboli, who you might know from Least We Can Do and Thing Called Truth, among Alice in Leatherland. And, you know, it was basically my bud now. I love working with her. And she's doing one of our prints for Sharp Wit. But now, the second one, we have about 16 days to go. Sharp Wit and the Company of Women. Thank you for mentioning the name. Sharp Wit, I believe, came from Michelle. Company of Women came from me, and we were like, why don't we just ram them together? I think it sounds like a lot of fun. And we just did it. And it's an unapologetic, what Color of Always was preservation of stories of love, all the various permutations of love and identity and memory, meant to be propagated across audiences and preserved in print. This is an ardent call to feminism, strong women, all women, and to abolish the idea that any gender is any better or worse than another, and that the women can be highlighted for the protagonists, the leaders, the champions and heroes they are. And there's a lot of different genres and storytelling conceits that can be born of this. Some of it's sword and board fantasy, some of it's like 1930s gangster settings. It's everywhere, but it's meant to be saying that, hey, you know what? Let's have a book that's done entirely by queer creators again, but based on this premise of agency and power in a time where women are unfortunately being forced to fight for their autonomy again.
Yeah, no, you said that all super well. My goodness. I'm like, do you want to just like ask your own questions and interview? Because you're saying all these wonderful things. And one thing that sticks out to me as well in this is that, you know, Sharp Wit is in the title. A lot of this, I know I recently had Fellhound on the channel, who also is a part of your what'd you call it, your brand, your label. That's what you called it, a label. I
would say Fellhound is rapidly becoming part of our senior editorial team permanently, in terms of development and structure. Our actual book structure is myself and Michelle, Fellhound, and then Justin Richards from Vault Comics fame with Finger Guns, among a few of their own independent endeavors. I believe there was another Kickstarter that Justin put out that we just got successfully funded, and I'm really excited to read that. So we got a really dynamic and talented team.
Yeah, it's so cool to see. And I know Fell kind of teased on here talking about how it's like sword gaze. This is a sword gaze, the sword women, the sword lesbians, whatever you want to call it. What was kind of the inspiration behind we want to do, you know, an anthology focused on women, particularly, you know, queer women and challenging gender, like you said? What was the inspiration behind being like, let's go for the swords and the women out of all the options you could have done?
I think we just wanted to make a sword lady book. We were heavily, and we're going to give credit where credit's due, because we were very delicate about not stepping on preceding toes. But we were motivated by books like Classics But Make It Gay, I think, and then also just other preceding, a lot of archive of our own kind of driven culture.
Where I live every night.
And we just felt like, why, if we're going to do a book about elevating voices and doing something about strong female characters, it's got to be sword ladies. It'll have a universal appeal and it has a message. And we had to have, Fell was going to be involved one way or the other, but not inviting Fell, it would have been unthinkable. Justin, again, they're so talented, and they have this previous kickstarting experience under their belt. We had to get Justin back in, but but even the artists that we invited for our rewards, I think, is emblematic of us trying to do our research in terms of doing this properly. Like our prints, our Elisa Romboli, our cover has a print, Tula Lote's cover. We got Natasha from Ellertishi from Heathen fame. We got Brett Schmidt back in for stickers. So it's just we got a little bit of everything. We even have a pin this time, an enamel pin that's an ampersand you like, and it's so yeah. We tried to do our homework on bringing in as much talent together to execute this as possible. And I think having the Tula Lote cover is like the anchor point for emphatically putting our stamp on that like white glove quality of our books was kind of what we hung our head on to get the ball rolling.
Yeah, I was going to ask because I mean, the second I saw that cover and who was doing it, I was like, my gosh, that is a huge grab you all were able to get. How did that happen? How did that collaboration come about?
Well, I have this tendency. It's a combination of things. I originally had this tendency of ingratiating myself to people and trying to, and Michelle, to her credit, and I think she's starting to grow into her confidence a little bit because she's a grease palmer. She knows how to work it when she was at New York Comic Con and beyond before that too. So between the two of us, I think we're just getting to know people and they know our work and our value. For Tula, it was this weird wombo combo of me. One of the teams, one of our crew teams is Laura Jones. Laura is part of the organizational team for San Diego Comic Con. And wanted to throw their hat into the ring for this book. And if this book, if I'm not mistaken, is actually their kind of way of coming out quietly, according to her. And I think that it's pretty much I'm okay to say now at this juncture. And I'm proud of Laura for that. But Laura knew Tula a little bit, and I think the introduction was in order, and Michelle took it and ran with it. And I think Tula probably knows her about as well as she knows me now. But yeah, that's how we kind of got into it. And that's why we have, and I don't even know where Michelle and I begin and end anymore between who we know and how we know them. But that's how we got Skylar Patridge and Denny Lore as a team. I went out and asked them to do it. And then we also got Yana Kangas and Justin as a team, and Jadzia Axelrod and Rai Hickman as a team. And then a whole bunch of just new faces that are across the globe. That first image you see of the Brindlin, of that woman with her nose steaming with the cold air gracing her face with a look of determination, is from Elizabeth, and she's from Georgia and in Europe, and just absolutely phenomenal creator. So and we also have some Persian influenced storytelling as well, and there's also thematics that run from, like I said, fantasy to real world slice of life stuff.
Yeah, I love the different genres you have essentially within this own genre you kind of put together, right? Like you've basically essentially made women with swords a genre. What was it like going through, because I'm sure you had a submission process where people submitted their stories for this anthology and you kind of have to sift through and see what you were looking for. What were some of the most important things you're looking for through the submissions you went through?
Fellhound found a really great chart that we use as a baseline for, I don't know if you know this, but we actually wanted 10 stories and we have 19. If that gives you an idea of how difficult it was.
That's a lot.
We wanted to be, it needed to be a coherent narrative that could be tightly packaged within the 4 to 6 page mandate, even though Michelle and I are claiming executive privilege with a giant page 7 splash for both of our stories. That's the one indulgence we're allowing ourselves. And also the kind of message the story was trying to tell. And that might sound like we were trying to reach for something poignant. That seems to happen naturally, I feel. But no, more to what we were trying to look for is something that spoke to the nature of what it is to be strong, to be perseverant, to be indefatigable, to be relentless in the face of adversity. And there's so many different ways of executing that that we felt we wanted to be a little judicious in determining that. Like, so you'll find some stories that are a little frivolous, but they capture the whims. Whimsy can be a very delicate and dangerous tool in this context, but it was done deftly by a few stories. And then there's a few stories that are heavy, with a lot of import, and that can be a cudgel if you're not careful. And that's how we kind of came to a decision. Like, did you execute a story that was heavy and handled with grace, or did you tell a story that was light but still captured the essence of what we were going for? And so many did that, and we had to isolate it down to about what you see before you. And I think in terms of editing is going to be hard. In terms of developing a coherent thread, it's something that we can't surmount. We did it with Color of Always. We can do it with this, but there's just so much range in the thematics that I think people will be entertained.
Yeah, and that's one thing I actually really love about anthologies. I know for some people, anthologies are kind of hit or miss because they can be overwhelming, but you guys do such a good job, I think, and The Color of Always really demonstrated that to me, where there is still such a variety of, themes like you talked about in these stories and such, but they still all work together somehow. Like, you do a good job of, like you're saying, having that undertone of there's a reason you're getting a mix of lighthearted stories with these other stories. They're not just kind of thrown together like, oh, this is a good story, this is a good story. You guys have a good way of weaving them together. So I just want to commend you guys for doing that. And I'm sure you guys have been doing the same thing here.
Oh, that's our goal.
And I wanted to talk about more rewards. You've already mentioned a ton of them. But I know especially with the comic fanatics, covers are a big thing. So obviously we got that gorgeous A cover. We've got 2 other covers here. How did you find these covers and these artists of Romboli and Alterici? I probably butchered that, but these are
I say Alterici as well, so that's kind of where I'm hanging my hat. Sometimes I do a hard C, sometimes I don't. But I'm gonna have to ask Nat at some point because I feel terrible now. But I never think about it until it's right on top of me.
Right.
But no, that's kind of the conceit of our idea. We didn't want to be frivolous with people's money. So in order to keep the goal down, we didn't make these alt covers. I know people like alt covers. I know they kind of drive traffic a little bit. But what we did is kind of a compromise, is we're doing something a little unconventional. These are going to be prints that are going to look like covers, and they're comic sized.
Ooh, I love that.
So yeah, they're variant cover prints. So yeah, I think it'll be a lot of fun. And how we came into them, like Tula, of course, is just an adaptation of our cover. Elisa just took an idea and ran with it. Like, this is 100% Elisa. Absolutely phenomenal cover of 2 combatants kind of in this sort of, I guess, violent sapphic
enemies the lovers trope. Enemies the lovers.
All in one thing. And we also gave no guidance to Nat. We just said go to town, and she came up with, and that's actually a work in progress. It looks finished, but it's not. She wants to put a few finishing touches on it. But yeah, it's these 2 kind of sword wielding ladies locked in literally a fiery embrace, is like the sort of sulfuric magic of like an autumn glow encapsulates them both in frame.
I love it. I think you could do cover like that same exact pose and everything, but you could do that with Carol and Jess. I would like to see Marvel get on it, please.
I need to do another Carol and Jess commission. I just haven't had the ability to save up money for it.
Yeah, that's the hard thing with commissions. It's like, I see all these great artists. I want to pay them the money. I would like these great things from them. But oh my gosh, like it's investment, but it's a great investment, and it should be an investment,
Oh, 100%. I guess if you want to get into like that discourse about collecting, there's like so many different subgroups of collecting.
Right.
And I know people collect pages, and I feel like that's chasing the dragon, and it costs so much money. And you better really like the book you're buying the page from. And then there's the ink, then there's institutions where they send it to an inker. And is it the inker's page? You want to own both pages. You want to own the pencils. and some people think it's been, and I just never quite got it. And then I kind of fell into commissions, and I mean, I guess resellability, depending on who's cynical and who isn't, is up to question. But I wasn't going to intend on selling these anyway. And I just love I love being surrounded by the art of people that I consider friends, if not at least collaborators and peers. Like I got a Sweeney Boo on top of a Sweeney Boo. and it's I love looking over at it. You know, it's like this is there's a young adult novel about Wonder Woman called I think it was Seas Lost, Lost Seas. That was just really phenomenal about Seas Tossed, and she did a commission for me of Carol and Jess and Drew Moss and Tom Rainey and some other ones around here. And it just, I don't know, it's like my totem energy. I feel like I'm surrounded by the energy of so many creative people. It helps me think of ideas.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely understand that.
Now, you said you got so much
stuff on my walls for a reason.
Is that, you said that's all Kurt behind you, right?
On this wall, yeah, that's all Kurt.
I love it.
And that's not all the Kurt I have, though. I have more Kurt here on that wall, and then on the other side of this wall, there's Kurt on the other wall over there on the other side in the other room. I have a lot of Kurt.
That is, there's the current state of the Carol stuff.
Let's see. I can move my cam at least. Yeah, there's some Kurt over there. You've got
I love it.
Wall back there.
So we're kindred spirits in having our. I love it.
We have our people. We have our characters that we have all these characters we love, but we have our full force characters that we're like throwing money at every day.
You know, every so often I like to throw a curveball. This is probably my favorite one right here. This is my Adam Gorham, Gideon Nav. Yeah, a curveball thing there. Oh, and you get to see this is the Josh Hickson Dark Carol.
That's amazing. I actually like that that's in black and white.
Oh, right. No, I love good old fashioned pencils and ink. Black and white's just wonderful. But yeah, so all this Carol stuff. But I got the golden retriever of all protagonists. You know, lesbian protagonists on my desk, staring and smiling at me. So
see, well, there you go. Your inspiration for this book was there from the get-go, even before you knew it. Like, oh,
right, no, this was a slam dunk idea. I think we were all on the same page the minute we were considering doing another volume of something.
Well, I wanted, because I know you're talking about these prints, these comic-sized prints. I wanted to make sure that we got to hear about Natasha's cover here, because that gives the major She-Ra energy, and I love it.
Right? Oh, 100%. In fact, I think she's super happy about it. And I know that maybe after like a statute of limitations passes for a little bit after this Kickstarter, I have no doubt that we'll let her just keep pushing that out, maybe down the pike at a con or two. She deserves it. It's a phenomenal print.
It is. And actually I'm so very excited about these prints, because one thing with variant covers too, it's like, well, I have to buy a whole comic that I'm not going to read another copy of. Like, I'm buying another copy just to have this thing. So the print option I think is great, because it's like, oh, cool. I'm not all like, I still want to take care of it obviously and stuff, but I don't feel like it's just another thing of something I'm already getting. It's like, I feel great. I'm gonna get a nice perfect frame for it, and bam, right there.
I really hope people take advantage of the next tier up, though, which is like, we only got like 8 of them left, and it's called the Armory, which is essentially the kitchen sink. Because that, I think it was Morningstar has that one has the stickers and the pin, the enamel pin. We've already talked about it a little bit, but the Armory has everything: the stickers, the pin, the prints, and a full-size archival print of the Tula Lotay art.
Which that I mean, you don't get things like that with Kickstarters even. Like, I see all kinds of rewards and all this stuff, but getting a print of something like that, I mean, that's amazing. And like an 11x17, that's a good size. I'm trying to see what I have stuff here that's 11x17. That's like the size of this right here. That Wonder Woman Medusa I got. Yeah.
It would be the equivalent of a full-size comic page too, in its original blue line form. So that's what you're looking at if you're trying to find some comparisons too. And also, as a physical add-on, Tula gave us permission to do only 10 copies. And I don't really know how many we have left, but for $50 as an add-on, a very rare black and white uncolored version
Oh,
of the original source print art, and that's in the add-on section at the bottom.
wow.
It's kind of tucked away, but that's an option as well.
I say that's not bad for $50. That's a hell of a steal. I hope people are finding that because, damn, that's so cool. And I think you already, I'm not sure if we said what we're recording now or when we were talking earlier, but the commissions and these large, even higher up tiers, I think you said they're all booked. Like
they gone.
Everybody nabbed them.
Yeah, well, Angela, I wanted to get involved because I saw Angela's art for Fell, and I can't talk about it, but I've seen the alt covers for the commercial release of And We Love You, the sequel or prequel to Commander Rao. It's really good. And so I go, would you like to do a commission tier? And so she said, yeah. And of course, the next one up is that one that's 100% me. I love Val. And I'm very loud about it. And so I harassed Valentine to be frankly to be a commission tier for this. And,
I have some Valentine's work. I think 2 Kurtz at least. I have 2 Kurtz at least.
Okay. Yeah, well, you know what I mean. Like I can't usually, for somebody who's a giant word nerd who can't shut up, I literally lack what to say to adequately describe the uniqueness of Val's work, but I'm just grateful that they're part of this, because I'm not going to do a sword anthology without them being involved.
No, I think that was a great choice. I was very happy to see that because I've been following Val's work for at least a year or 2 now as well. And yeah, I mean, Val's work, it's very distinct. You look at something, you know it's a Val work. Like,
yeah. I go in like t-shirts and hats. It's ridiculous. I'm such a fan. It's just hilarious.
Nothing
but no, Wave Blue World, you can pre-order. We have an arrangement with Wave Blue World where you can pre-order as an add-on their version of our Kickstarter coming out in June.
I love it. So if y'all missed it, and you're hearing about this first anthology, and you're like, well, where the heck can I get mine? You can still get it right here. You can get amazing love stories along with sword women. What more could you want? I mean, nothing.
Yeah. And frankly, our production timeline is not exact, but they're going to be within maybe a month and a half of each other if they're not congruently released. But yeah, you might get the old book and our new book from this Kickstarter around the same time.
Yes, that's amazing. That's great. I love it when it works out like that because, again, with Kickstarters, you plan for the best, but you have to also plan for the worst. And it's amazing when things just line up like that. So that's great that it sounds like it's going to work out that way.
There's the there's in your screen. There's the black and white. You said 1 out of 10. Yep. So don't know how many we have left. I know we're down to about half last I checked.
That's so cool. Like, I know one thing that creators struggle with Kickstarters, especially when they're first starting out, is figuring out like what kind of rewards to not only incentivize people to back, but that people actually want to see, and how can they get them and stuff. Is there anything that you wanted to do in this campaign that you can share, of course, that you didn't get to do as a reward this time?
I think I know we just talked about trying to save money and not doing alt covers, but that's my white whale. That I think I would like one day to give the option of a foil cover or a variant cover, and this might have it, but I mean like as like an additional item, like completely different art or souped up art or a virgin variant, whatever. I would love to do that eventually. By the way, the Wave Blue World version of our Color of Always will be a higher quality. It already was high quality in my opinion. It's very soft matte finish, but this is going to have spot foil for the logo. It's going to be very nice.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I'm glad that it's getting another release, maybe even a bigger release. I'm not sure about how many they're printing, but either way, this is such a big deal. So like huge congrats. Like you guys are getting out there and you guys deserve to be. You guys are just, I can't wait to see what your next project is. Like this one's not even done yet. And I just can't wait to see what the hell y'all are doing next.
Well, I can give you a little bit of a hint. I don't know if it'll be directly after this, but we kind of swerved out of the way because there was so much horror stuff going on. And we have a very like love-hate relationship with horror because of how prolific it is. but we wanted to do queer horror kind of a thing. And the project name, tongue in cheek, was The Price of Always.
Oh, could be like you can do like an always like.
Yeah, that's what we were thinking about doing, and I don't necessarily know if it'll translate fully into that or not, but that is a direction we were considering. So keep your eye on that.
That is awesome, and I mean, look, it is. You just got to prepare for next October because I mean, I'm already seeing it. Like everybody, all of a sudden, is now like hoodies and horror films. Like, I think that could potentially do very well, depending on obviously, how it ends up going. Because like, I totally understand, especially with horror and mixing it with queer stories, that has been problematic in media in the past and things like that. But I'm sure if anybody could figure out how to do it and make it work really well, it would be y'all.
I think it's very, and I know it's going to sound like a cop out, but I think the best solution is for us, and this is what we've talked about in other ways, is just ownership. Just own it. Mm-hmm. Just claim it, reclaim it if you need to, and lean into the tropes, but just know the fact that you're taking it back. And that's usually how we reconcile that kind of concern. But yeah, we'll be delicate with it as well if we do go that way.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to remember the name. I have it. It's just on my shelf back there. But I know Stephanie Phillips. She's one of my favorite comic writers out right now. She, like, a couple years ago did, like, a queer, like, horror story, essentially. And I was actually really impressed with, like, how much it didn't... If it makes any sense, it didn't feel like a queer horror story. It just felt like a horror story with, queer women in it. Like, it was just so well done, and it felt very normalized, and I don't know. I would love to see more of that. So that gives me some hope.
I got an idea. Hold on one sec. I think I'm gonna. No, I thought I had it, but I know it's somewhere in here. I think I know which one you were talking about. It was that one where like there was like a haunted house and a ghost in a mirror and
Devil Within. Yes, that's what it's called.
Devil Within. Yeah, I got a copy of Devil Within in here. So you beat me to it. I was trying to find it on my shelf and the name was escaping me. But no, I love Stephanie as well.
Yeah, and that was just so fun. So yeah, I'd love to see more of that. So if you guys do decide to reclaim it, I will be backing first day. But that's also just with anything you guys do. So
you'll always
not much incentive. But
speaking of that too, is a kind of a side thought. We do a lot of our it's soup to nuts in terms of quality control. We try to make a good book, but also in terms of fulfillment. Our fulfillment partner is White Squirrel, which based on the West Coast, and they have they're like the web shop maintainer for like the Dodsons and for Jen Bartel, and they do a lot of Kickstarters. And I think we're probably going to be consistently using them for fulfillment because of how well Color of Always arrived at households.
Yeah, no, y'all did a great job with that, and that's so important with Kickstarters, especially is fulfillment and getting it to people's houses safely and also as timely as you can. Delays happen all the time, things like that. But yeah, I was impressed with how quickly it came too. So yeah, if you're gonna keep using them, if that's who did it, yay! Please do.
Yay!
please.
But no, yeah, go ahead. I can't think where my I'm just all over the place. Just fire off questions at me.
No, I love it. That's exactly what I want. I just wanted to mention that one of my favorite things of y'all promoting this anthology is the fact that you lovingly call it SWAT Cow to condense it and make it easy to talk about. Did anybody specifically like in your group be like, all right guys, so this is what we're doing, or did it just happen you guys are like, yep, that's it, that's how it's abbreviated? Like
honestly, I told you how we had like that Sharp Wit and Company of Women and put them together. I think the reason that was even allowed to occur, or at least encouraged to happen too, is Michelle realized that the acronym would be SWAT Cow, and then said, no, that's it, it's a done deal, and like was adamant that we get the domain. So that's why swatcow.com goes to the Kickstarter. So yeah, no, that SWAT Cow is beautiful and brilliant, and I would say that if the acronym had a parent, it was definitely Michelle for taking it and running with it to the extent that she has.
I feel like now I need to see a cow like decked out in gear and like waving a sword around. That should be the mascot for this anthology.
We wanted We wanted to have at least one story that had a farm theme, and no one did it.
What?
We thought somebody would, like, at least tongue-in-cheek submit a cow-related story or a farm-related story. Not one.
What? No. What? But farms and lesbians alone. What?
I know. If you can believe it, in addition to that, not only did we not get a farm joke one, we got like 4 or 5 ideas that were set in a historical kind of thing, but not on a farm. Like, one was like a Captain America thing. Another one was like a 1930s gangsters. Another one was kind of like, I think the Joe Carollo's one is freaking great. It's kind of the heroine looks like Women's League Baseball is kind of like her motif. And it just freaking fantastic. Gal Gallant, which again, brilliant, making it look like a Silver Age heroine. But I just think it's fantastic. But yeah, no cows, no farms, nothing.
No
but it's
cows,
okay.
no
It went
farms.
everywhere else, but not there. We were shocked.
All right, listen, if anybody, those you watching this, if you want to make a quick fanfic about SWAT Cow, the cow on a farm with a woman with a sword, you should do that and let us know. Like, I would love to see it, because no cow or farm story.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I think one of my favorite things to ask, even though it's kind of cheesy, what are some of your favorite stories in this, just personally for you? Because obviously these are all great, like, there's no question on that. But what are some of your personal favorites that you can kind of tease a little bit?
Okay, I got 3 for different reasons. The one that I would claim to be mine is called how would I describe it? It's low fantasy with like a mysticism, historical lore, and it's thinking of Brent. I'm confusing Brindlin with it. I believe it's Cadence by Keith Frady and Sarah Stern, Sarah, I believe, goes by Worst Wizard as the call sign more often than not, which I love. But it's a syrupy kind of high drama, saccharine, wonderful story of love and literally going to the depths of hell to save someone that you care about, and a very on the nose juxtaposition of what you're willing to sacrifice and what you're willing to live with, and what actually completes you and defines who you are, as long as you're with the person you care about. I don't want to spoil too much, but it's something I will be a little what do you call it, self-centered, I guess, narcissistic, to say that if I was to write a story, it would have been that story. It's a story that I would have written. I guess that's why I like it so much. But I think it's phenomenal. I can't wait for people to read it. I think my second one, from completely out of left field, is called Stabbed with an exclamation point. And it's very whimsical, lighthearted, and silly. The title implies everything and nothing at the same time. And I just think that people are going to have a lot of fun. It's very reminiscent of that webcomic from like 20 years ago, 15 years ago, where it was like the characters from Final Fantasy, Red Mage, Black Mage, the Knight, and they all kind of tooled around together and had adventures.
I've never heard of that. But I also don't follow Final Fantasy, so I'm the oddball out.
Okay. It's okay, but it's the tonality of the humor is definitely borrowed from that. And I think my third one, and this is where I get into a little bit more, I would say, deep territory, is Joan Not 19. And it's revolving around a woman that is suffering with chronic pain. And I think it's a broader discourse through first-person exploration of what it means to be strong and persevere against the obstacles that are thrown against you when you're fighting against pain, and the idea of controlling your own body and autonomy. And one of the rebuttals within the story, without spoiling some of its conceit, is that it turns the idea of the body being a battlefield on its head, because you need to make peace with yourself in order to persevere as much as it is to fight against what's ailing you. And it's just wonderful. And I think it's necessary. I think we need to have more discourses about the nature of dealing with chronic pain and other kind of affiliations and ailments that affect the body and the mind and just general. And that's why I feel it belongs as part of the anthology. But like again, if that doesn't give you an example of the range of tonality, it's just I think the anthology is going to speak to a lot of different people for different reasons.
Yeah, I feel like you just took me on an emotional roller coaster with 3 of those stories, and I didn't even read them, but it's great because the first one, like, so I'm a huge Legend of Tomorrow fan, and the first one you basically just described the Avalanche ship on that show. So I was like, now I
It
have
is
to
one.
read that one because I'll cry. Like,
It is 100% that mood.
oh my
You've nailed
gosh.
it.
I love that.
Yeah,
I'm gonna scream that at all the other Legends fans and be like, get the book so you can cry over another
yeah,
ship just like them.
yeah.
And then the second one sounded, yeah, a little more not as deep or serious, but still really great. And then just smack with the ailments, and it's so important. And I love to see that. Like, I love seeing that's being more talked about and shown in media, especially in comics. Like I know T. Franklin Zariah really like, and she's writing so much. Like she did, more Sun Spider recently, which was cool. Who has a chronic illness as well, chronic ailment. So I'm glad to see that representation too, because there's so many forms of representation out there, and the fact that we have so much, back to this LGBTQ plus, QIA plus representation is so great, but we're still just starting to
Mhm.
get everybody to start talking about every different kind of person out there. And it's just absolutely wild how far we have to go and yet how much we are still actually doing.
Yeah, I think what's that quote from? I think it was Benjamin Franklin. The price of freedom is a constant vigilance,
Hmm.
and I just feel that we are entering into a generational overlap where Generation Z is probably going to be leading the charge of change,
Hmm.
and what we can do to, in speaking as someone who's an elder millennial, use my 5 feet of space to keep the door open so that they can come through and wreck the joint and change things themselves.
Yeah.
And I really feel like if this, it must feel debilitating to look at the news and just be like, what can I do that would ever make a difference? And there's very little a single person can do, but when
Hmm.
I can bring a whole bunch of people together and make a little bit of a racket, and
Hmm.
the beautiful thing about books is they don't cease to exist. There will always be these stories somewhere on a bookshelf in multitudes if possible. And somebody's going to come along and pick it up and look at it, and they're going to know about someone's idea of what love is, someone coming out to somebody else, families accepting each other, finding your own family. And then in this book, they're going to find strong female protagonists going through a myriad of fantastical and mundane things that give rise to understanding that there's different permutations of strength and ability and autonomy and acumen, and you can't take that away as long as these books exist. And while people are
Hmm.
trying to take books off of bookshelves, I will always try to put one of mine back on it, in an effort to bring them all back permanently if I can. So you know it, I just wanted to do something, and I'll keep trying to do something until I can't do anything anymore.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think you said all of that wonderfully. And the fact that you and Michelle created, Extra Pages Press, the fact that you've brought other people onto the
Oh
team
yeah,
with you, and you probably will, and the fact that you're still doing these anthologies, even though Kickstarters are a shit ton of work, they can be
yeah.
draining, but the product is worth it in the end. Like I say that, not only somebody that admires, you as a creator and all that, but just a fan that has my own copies and really loves them. So I'm just
And
super excited to have another one in my hands.
yeah, and speaking of Michelle and Phil and everybody, I this wouldn't be happening without them. It's a team effort.
Mhm.
But I'm just speaking to my own personal drive.
Mhm.
But I'm happy that I'm not alone, because I don't think I could have done this alone at all.
Yeah.
But no, I'm really excited to see where we go from here. And I really want this to fund. I need this to fund, because I think I love Color of Always, because it's an actualization of something that I wrote on a piece of paper in
Mhm.
college almost,
Mhm.
and given life. But I really do feel that Sharp Wit, even though it's more of a niche focus,
Mhm.
is going to be a much more tight, beautiful, and just stunning book. Every single book, I think we improve a little bit, and this one's going to be no exception.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I'm super excited. I love that it has the the women focus. I think that's super important. Like you said, now more than ever, it's nice to see it. It's nice to see actual, I don't know, I guess like, actual, like, not just saying, yeah, we hear you women, but, and then moving on with life. Like, it's nice to see an actual product being made of it. Nice to see so many creators involved that want to be. So I'm so grateful that whatever you wrote on that page in college became this. Absolutely worth that. I'm glad you hung on to the idea.
Well, just read those first 2 pages. That is my poem broken up into a story that I did with Elisa. That's where Color of Always came from. It was just maybe like a 12 to 16 line poem, and I turned it into an anthology. So, yeah.
That's amazing. I'm so glad. It's always cool how those little things happen. Well, yeah, Brent, plug yourself away, plug Extra Pages Press away as much as you want. Tell us where we can back the Kickstarter, all that great stuff.
You can find me at brentfisher.net. You can find Michelle and I both for Extra Pages at extrapagespress.com. And you can find our current Kickstarter at swatcow.com, WSATCOW.com.
SWAT Cow. You can't forget, guys. There's absolutely no way you're walking around with headphones on and people are asking you what you're listening to and you forget what SWAT Cow is. There's no way. You can't forget SWAT Cow. I feel like that should be a TikTok trend.
And you can find me at Carol Collector on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but Brent really likes Carol. Really likes Carol.
Yeah, I mean, I wear it on my sleeve. It's all over the place.
That's insane. That sleeve, holy shit! That level of color.
Yeah, it's 50 years of Carol Danvers.
Yes.
So. And it goes all the way around. And of course, you can't have Carol without Jess. Of course,
Jess has to be somewhere. That's her wife. Why would her wife not be there?
Exactly. And the 1979 Ms. Marvel with the Farrah Fawcett hair. That's actually that Drew Moss commission. Mm-hmm. Taking that right there on my inside. So
that's so cool. It's very well done. All of them are so well done. Like, you did not skimp out on these at all. You did your research. You took the time. Like, my goodness.
Tatfranklin.com, Columbus, Ohio.
I love it. See, now anybody listening that you're looking for a tattoo, there you go. Brent's got you.
Yeah, just say I sent you. Seriously, say Brent Fisher sent me. Matt loves doing. He loves doing tats of comic book stuff, but it's all part of his love of tattooing people with things that they're passionate about. Mm-hmm. So it all goes hand in hand, but he's a really great, nice guy, does excellent work. He's booked out about a year in advance. You got time to save. Yeah.
That's insane. My God. He's got to have a great business to be booked out for a year. God, I wish me.
He's living the life. He's also does a band called King Serpent. It's really great with his wife, and they're a local group out of Columbus as well.
Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Well, thank you so much again, Brent, for coming on. Thanks for sharing all this. Everybody, make sure you go to swatcow.com or else I'll come for you. Then Brent might come for you. Then Phil might. Then you have sword lesbians after you. I mean, that's just too much. Just go to swatcow.com and go back it. Get your copy. It's going to be worth it. I highly recommend at least the physical or getting the bigger tier that Brent mentioned. But if a digital is all you can do it. It's absolutely worth it, even on your computer screen or, tablet or whatever. Well, nerdy neighbors, did you go back it yet? Why aren't you backing it? You see this soccer ball? This is a women's national team soccer ball. You know how we talked about women for like that whole Kickstarter? We'll throw this ball from the U.S. women's national team at you if you don't go back it right now. Now, for legal purposes, I'm not actually doing that. But please, please, please go back that Kickstarter. It is amazing. It's beautiful. If that whole interview didn't convince you, I don't know what will. Go back at Nerdy Neighbors. Let me know in the comment below what you thought of it. Let me know if you backed it. I want to hear the bragging. I want people bragging what they're getting, how much they supported, or just the fact you supported. Share it. You're awesome. You neighbors are awesome. And we will see you next time on your friendly neighborhood comic show.